I'm better than you, talent-wise, skill-wise, and I know I got more dog than you. You're gonna find out September 28th.
I'm more dog than you.
Yeah.
Guess we gonna find out.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
I know for a fact. I know it's there.
When I cut you, we're gonna find out what's going on.
Okay. The only way you cut me is with an elbow or headbutt.
Right.
What you known for?
Because that's what I do.
That's what you do.
I go in with my head.
Roberto, that's what you did with Devin. That's what you do.
When you say that's what he does, what are you implying? He's a dirty fighter?
He knows he's dirty.
I'm intentionally trying to be dirty, trying to be a dirty fighter.
That's just what you do.
My cuts are right here over my eyes.
That's just what you do.
You telling me I'm intentionally trying to
Come
hurt
in with your
somebody?
head. What's that?
How do you respond to that? Straight up, he's calling you a dirty fighter.
Hey, if you calling me a dirty fighter, you don't think I got skills, you don't think I got good hand speed, good boxing ability, you done thought something wrong.
You got talent, you don't have skills.
Oh, so what's the difference between talent and skills?
Talent is God-given. Skills is something that you get in the gym. Skills is something that you are taught. A skill set.
What's happening, people? It's Nocturnal Thoughts. This real quick video I want to unpack is going to be a question mark. Is Shawn Porter a dirty fighter? In my opinion and my thoughts, I'm not going to keep y'all in suspense. I'm just going to say right off the bat, no. I don't believe that Shawn Porter is a dirty fighter. Honestly, I don't even believe that Errol Spence thinks that Shawn Porter is a dirty fighter. Like Shawn Porter said, he's a gentleman inside and outside of the ring. And there's a difference. There's a difference between dirty boxing and being a dirty boxer. Shawn Porter is more of a brawler than he is a pure boxer. And when Errol Spence says he's a dirty fighter, let me clarify, let me unpack on that. First of all, I don't think that that's the narrative that Errol Spence is even insinuating, is that Shawn Porter is just a dirty fighter. They're doing basically right now a little verbal sparring, a little chess match. And if you ask me, Errol Spence is even getting the best of Shawn Porter in the verbal warfare. So vocally, and as far as just sitting down at the chess table and who can outmaneuver each other before they even throw the first punch, I already think that Errol Spence has a slight edge. And I'm going to break that down. Hopefully I don't hold you guys too long. Bear with me, be patient. This is Nocturnal Thoughts. As you know, there's a little interview out. Thanks to Get 'em Mike, I was able to find this because I couldn't find it anywhere on Shawn Porter saying that he would cut Errol Spence. And of course that narrative is getting completely exploited and blown out of proportion. Here's what I think about it. Now, first of all, Errol Spence, I haven't watched the whole interview, keep in mind, but just off the clip, the snippet that I saw, Errol Spence didn't suggest. That was not his main vocal point, was not suggesting that Shawn Porter was just a dirty fighter and that's the only way he can win the fight. First of all, he's saying he's not going to be able to win the fight clean boxing or dirty brawling. So if Errol Spence was just saying the only way you could beat me is if you were being dirty, then I would say that he's just using that as his main narrative, that Shawn Porter is just this dirty fighter. But what he's saying is Shawn Porter, Shawn Porter said, we'll see if you have more dog in me once I cut you. And Errol Spence basically parried that with, the only way you would cut me is if you had an elbow or a headbutt. And then the commentator, the mediator, he suggested So are you saying that Shawn Porter is a dirty fighter? Errol Spence didn't say, oh, he's just this dirty fighter. All he knows how to do is fight dirty. Errol Spence said he doesn't have the skill set of a boxer. And basically, there's a difference between having talent and having skill. And once he put that on the table, to me, that bothered Shawn, because Shawn seemed puzzled and even having to ask, oh, well, what's the difference between talent and skills? And whenever you're having a verbal chess match and you have to ask a question like that in that manner, that shows me that the person is thinking faster than you're thinking, and now you're trying to ask questions. He said, what's the difference between skills and talent? So now basically Errol Spence has to school you and say skills or talent is God-given. Skills is crafted through training. And Shawn Porter stumbled and mumbled, trying to put together a nice little retort like, well, I'm going to take my God-given talent and we're going to take our skills and bring it into the ring, but it just kind of fell flat. And a lot of things that Shawn Porter says in regards to this fight, in my ears, they just fall kind of flat, you know, because it seemed like to me Errol Spence is just stating the obvious and stating things that are close to just being common sense. And Shawn Porter has to put a spin and a razzle-dazzle on everything he says. Because Errol Spence is not just saying you're a dirty fighter, but you do have dirty tactics. And let me parlay that. Because, like I said, there's a difference between a dirty fighter and using dirty tactics. Because all great fighters, all skillful fighters, also know how to use a dirty tactic. Yeah, like I was saying too, there's a difference between, dirty tactics and being a dirty fighter. And all professional fighters have dirty tactics up their sleeves. That made me think of one of my favorite boxing movies back in the day growing up, The Gladiator, starring Cuba Gooding Jr. Look, man, it's old school. If y'all haven't seen it, go check it out. But there was a scene where the boxing promoter, the guy that ran the underground fighting, he was an old boxer, old retired champion. And he was in the ring giving a sparring lesson to this huge young guy that was just muscle, big Anthony Joshua cut up guy. And the guy thought he was putting work on him, but he was playing possum the whole time because the old guy had experience and wisdom. And then he said, you think it's all about youth. You think it's all about speed. You think it's all about power. The whole time he's just taking this onslaught of a parade of punches from this big young guy. And then all of a sudden he turns the tables. He steps on his toe, he pushes his chin up, and then he clocks him with a hook. That was a technique. That was a strategy. So when I think of a dirty fighter or a clean fighter with skills that has a few dirty tricks up his sleeve, that makes me think of a Bernard Hopkins. And that brings to mind great fighters like Bernard Hopkins, who, when he was faced with adversity, being the older fighter, sometimes he would be fighting guys that were half his age and double his size, and fighting these big, strong, young guys. And he would use dirty tactics, and a lot of times commentators would accuse him of being a dirty fighter. But it's the difference between dirty and being skillful. He would do things like spin you around, make sure that you weren't in the eyesight of the referee, and then give you a low blow or a cheap shot in a genius fashion. Now that's a dirty tactic, but that doesn't make him a dirty fighter. Mayweather, one of the most skillful fighters of all time, but definitely from our generation. Mayweather is the most skillful fighter of our generation. But he did things to me that were skillfully, but you can call them dirty tactics. Like, for example, when he would bring your head down, he would muffle your nose and your mouth with his glove and cut off your oxygen supply. and disrupt your breathing. That's why you see when he did that against Marcus Maidana bit down on his glove because he was smothering him. He was suffocating him. That's a dirty tactic, but it's skillful. That doesn't make Mayweather a dirty fighter. See, a dirty fighter is a Margaritos that either has his gloves loaded with some cement or has his gloves with too much with padding taken out of it so that it's just knuckle on bone on bone contact. A dirty fighter is a fighter that knows he's juiced to the gills and then, finds a way to pass through all the drug screens and then fight somebody that's clean. That's a dirty fighter. A dirty tactic, like a Victor Vicious Ortiz when he headbutted Mayweather. Now, are you going to say that that's a dirty fighter or a dirty tactic? I mean, I'll let you be the judge on that. But I don't think that Shawn Porter is a dirty fighter, but I think sometimes he does have a raw skill, or should I say a raw brawling technique that can have potential to be just dirty boxing. Like Evander Holyfield. Evander Holyfield, was known for, going in head first and headbutting and elbows. That's just rough boxing, rough housing. So Shawn Porter can get rough. He's a football player. You know what I'm saying? He fights like a football player. He does lead in with his head. That's his style. And that's what Errol Spence was alluding to. Because the commentator, the mediator, he was trying to make him say, are you a dirty fighter? And Errol Spence said, yeah, he's a dirty fighter. But he didn't just harp on that and insinuate that's the only ability Shawn Porter has. He's saying that's just Shawn Porter. Pay attention and listen with your ears, not with your emotions. He says, is Shawn Porter a dirty fighter? He says, yeah, he fights dirty. That's just his way. That's just his style. And Shawn Porter says, are you saying I'm intentionally fighting dirty? And that's the key word, intentionally. Shawn Porter asked, are you saying that I'm an intentional dirty fighter? Errol Spence didn't say, yeah, you're just an intentional dirty fighter and that's the only thing you can do. Errol Spence said, no, that's just you. That's just the way you fight. That's just how you do. You go in and there's no secret. You have a sloppy style. You have a very reckless style, and you do cause headbutts and elbows. But he's not saying that that's your only style. And my main point is he's not saying that that's the only way you're going to be able to beat me. What he's saying is I'm prepared for you to have that style, and I'm going to be able to beat you either way. If you want to get dirty, I can get dirty too. If you want to get dirty, I can get dirtier. If you want to box, I can outbox you. So it's a strategy, and it doesn't matter either way what you do. I'm prepared. I watched a guy on YouTube say, oh, Errol Spence is 1,000% underestimating Shawn Porter. And that's where I say some people just don't use common sense, because that's been a narrative already, and it's already been debunked. It has already been debunked. They've asked him, Shawn Porter said it numerous times, he's taking me for granted, he's taking me for granted. They come right back and ask Errol Spence, are you taking him for granted? Errol Spence says, no. I'm getting prepared for a grueling 12-round fight. If the knockout is there, I'm going to take it. But I always prepare for 12 grueling rounds. Grueling, meaning rough, meaning ugly, meaning elbows, headbutts, meaning boxing, meaning using all the tools in the toolbox. So how is he underestimating that? Narrative has been debunked. All right, people. I appreciate y'all time. So you guys answer the question. If I haven't answered it for you, do you think Shawn Porter is a dirty fighter? My answer is no, he's not a dirty fighter, but yes, his style can get a little dirty. It's Nocturnal Thoughts. Yo, I appreciate y'all time. Peace. Right on to the real.